Hello there. I was looking for something to watch when I remembered that Rebel Moon had just come out. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is a sci-fi fantasy adventure film that recently came out on Netflix, and it's quite popular. The story follows a stranger living amongst common villagers on a distant moon, who must take up arms when a tyrannical empire shows up to destroy it. The story was written by Zack Snyder and adapted into a screenplay by him with the help of Shay Hatton and Kurt Johnstad. Zack Snyder also directed the film, which stars Sofia Boutella as the lead Cora and Mikhail Hausman as Gunnar, her main sidekick. They're accompanied by an ensemble cast of big-name actors such as Anthony Hopkins, Djimon Hounsou, Bae Doona, and Charlie Hunnam. The story creates a happy-go-lucky village and a mysterious hero that you are supposed to root for, and tells you about the evil empire and how their royal line was recently killed. Cora and Gunnar then go on an adventure through the stars to recruit a bunch of heroes before a surprise forces them to take on the Empire earlier than they planned. It has all the elements of a grand narrative similar to Lord of the Rings, but it takes place in space. It also sets up a lot of background information for the next films while trying to introduce us to all of the characters that are going to be taking part in the story. Its characters are quite stoic, and most of the dialogue is extremely theatrical. The screen time is mostly spent with the two leads, Cora and Gunnar, first at the village and then on their journey through the universe. Behind them is a vast cast of characters that make up the people they meet on their journey. The villagers are simple folk who farm the lands manually. The empire that shows up is filled with a bunch of mindless, evil thugs and one intelligent Nazi-like character. The people they recruit on their journey are a series of mythological hero-type characters, a disgraced general, a grieving swordswoman, a charming rogue, and Conan the Barbarian. Cora is a mysterious woman with a shameful past. She arrived in the village by accident, but has made the place her home. When the Empire arrives, she tries to warn them, but things go badly anyway. She almost runs away, but ends up hearing a woman in need, and ends up rushing to help. Gunnar is a good-hearted but simple man that thinks only of his people. His mistakes end up giving the Empire an excuse to commandeer their grain, and he ends up on the journey due to his guilt. He ends up showing a lot of courage, and he's quick thinking. The visual journey starts in an isolated desert climate. There's a small village with a simple look to it. The Empire that arrives looks like the Sardaukar from Dune. They have giant ships that dwarf everything else, and wear a futuristic battle armor uniform. After a slow-motion fight scene between Cora and the soldiers stationed in the village, she and Gunnar then head off on a mission across the galaxy. They visit 4 different worlds and cities created out of CGI and recruit a team of heroes. There is a lot of slow-motion action, a little bit of stunt work, and CGI as far as the eye can see. Sound-wise, the film makes use of a limited number of tracks to create atmosphere in the varying locations and during combat sequences to make them a little bit more exciting. The songs are instrumental tracks that add a variety of different flavors to the film. Okay, so how was the film? The writing was awful. It starts with a long-winded exposition dump and then does 10 more while it sets up the plot. It introduces a huge number of characters and then rushes through a massive storyline that is barely coherent after all of the cuts they made. It feels like watching 4 seasons of a television show cut down into a 2-hour movie. There are no little moments that develop the characters and give us time to breathe. There is just constant churning of story beats. The characters are all stereotypes ripped from other sci-fi fantasy stories, and they don't do anything to make them unique or likable. The adventure they go on doesn't make any sense, and the way they present it doesn't help either. You don't get attached to anyone, and none of the story feels important or exciting despite a lot happening. The screen time focuses on the 2 leads interacting with different people on their journey. Most of the cast does okay with the awkward dialogue. All of them are playing stereotypes in an extremely dramatic universe, and they manage to make it look natural. Few of them, like Bae Doona and Ed Skrein, even manage to make the little bit of screen time they get into interesting scenes. The problem is Sofia Boutella. She struggles with the dialogue and getting it out in a believable manner, but looks okay during the action scenes. She's supposed to be playing the charismatic and mysterious warrior hiding out in a simple place after retiring. Boutella comes off as cold and emotionless, but does okay playing the vicious warrior during flashbacks. When she's called to pull off the charismatic leader look, she can't do it. She awkwardly squawks out her lines, and it's impossible to believe anyone is following her on that alone. There's also a love story that doesn't work at all because she has 0 chemistry with the other actor. Visually, the film suffers from a confusing and overbearing journey. It cuts around a lot during combat sequences, creating unclear fights where it's not obvious who's winning or why. It devotes little to no time to different sections of the film, and they end up feeling rushed. There is also enough CGI in this film to last you a lifetime. Every background, most of the buildings, the ships, and even a lot of the action sequences involve large amounts of CGI in the form of giant creatures and weapons. There are a few exciting moments in the action sequences that are well done, and there are quite a few visually distinctive moments hidden throughout the film. That said, they're buried 10 feet deep underneath a mound of poorly executed shots. Sound-wise, the film has a large amount of dead air that could have been filled to great effect, and the songs that it does use aren't that effective. They're generic, bland, and are forgotten within minutes of hearing them. They do the bare minimum to support the story, and aside from being mildly entertaining, don't have anything to offer. Overall, Rebel Moon Part 1 is an embarrassingly poor attempt at a sci-fi franchise. They chopped the story into pieces, gave the actors nothing to work with, and spread their time thin. Then they overloaded the film with CGI. By the end of it, you just want to look at real things again. I would not recommend this film. As for a rating, I'd give it a 3 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.